Let's talk about the week of March 16th. We start with a steady state run on hills. A steady state run is a staple. We do that not every week, but it seems like most weeks that we have some version of a steady state, either in the high quality, moderate quality, or embedded in the long run. But this one with hills is a little bit different because when we add the hill component, we're getting additional training effect. Now, the definition of steady state is your body at equilibrium during exercise. And that's why I use that term as opposed to things like tempo run. If we want to run a pace, we call it a pace run. If we want to run an even effort, which is what drives the training effect, we call it a steady state run. And we can do those at various levels, though they're almost always somewhere between 75 and 85%. So you'll see not only one, but you'll see two of those in this week's workouts. The steady state run with hills, as I said, it's bonus training effect, in part because when you run uphill, not only are you spiking your muscular tension, if you're running a steady state run on a flat surface, there's a certain level of muscular tension, and maybe that increases a little bit over the duration, but not excessively. Again, back to your body being in equilibrium. But when you run up a hill, unless you really slow down, and even if you do really slow down, there's an increase in muscular tension. So your body has to react to that and try to keep your body in equilibrium. It won't. There'll be that spike, but that's where the additional training benefit comes in. You also have an increased oxygen demand. So that nice level oxygen consumption you have on flat ground will go up. You might get to where you're producing some lactic acid, though it should be at that level where you can buffer and continue to go. Maybe at the top of a really long hill, you've gone anaerobic and you do need to recover. But for our purposes here, we're targeting that level where, yes, we're producing some of your energy anaerobically, but you can handle it, you can buffer it because it's for a relatively short period of time. When you're running uphill, focus on cadence and your arms. Your arms will drive your legs going uphill or simply when your legs get tired. And that's why it's important towards the end of a race to be thinking about your arms and make sure your arms are driving your legs. The cadence is so important because if you're going into a hill and your cadence drops and you're fighting gravity, you're really going to slow down. I like going into a challenging hill counting as my right foot hits the ground, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So when I hit the hill, I can just kind of count in my head and I'm maintaining that cadence going up to the top. Stride length might go from, well, whatever it is, down to much shorter, but that cadence will keep you effective. It's kind of like changing the gears in your car when you're driving through the mountains. And then once you've crested the hill, the normal reaction is to slow down, get recovered. But what we want to do is maintain that cadence and your stride will elongate again. It'll go back to normal. It may take a little bit depending on the severity of the hill, but you want to think about that. So going up, think about arms and cadence. When you get to the top, think about let's maintain that cadence and let's get that stride length back to normal. When you're running downhill, you're going to increase impact forces. Yes, I know that's rocket science. Those of you who might not be physicists have probably already figured that out. But that's important for a couple of reasons. One is we want to make sure that you're not pounding excessively going downhill. You want to stay in control, use gravity to help you go faster, but you don't want to be clomping down the hill and just taking a pounding, because unless the finish line is at the bottom of that hill, you're going to have to continue to do some running. And if you've fried your quads by pounding down a hill, you won't have too much less left for the rest of the race. But also it makes it important if you're on a little bit of a slant running downhill, that increased impact force also increases the stress on your ankles, your knees, your hips, everything. So try to stay off of slants when you're running up or downhill when possible. Running on a slant is preferred to getting hit by a car, so you can make that choice as you're running, but try to avoid running in the gutters, as I like to say. When we're in Arden and doing the hill circuit, for example, it's really easy to get on a pretty significant slant. And I can watch people running and my knees start to hurt just watching the twisting that's going on. So be aware of that. But also running downhill, you're increasing the neuromuscular stimulus. which is speed work. You're going down there and your limiting factor is your coordination and how fast can you go and stay under control. You don't want to go tumbling down the hill for sure. You don't want to be pounding, as I already mentioned, but you want to be going down as smoothly as possible. I seem to specialize in corny mental cues, and this is one of those. But when you're running up or downhill, if you had a pencil running through your head, through your ears, you're drawing a straight line up and down the hill. It should not be this. When you're doing that, you're spending time going vertically, and there's no reward for going vertically in running. We want to go a straight line as possible. So think about that. We don't want the head bouncing up and down. It should be nice and smooth going up and nice and smooth coming down. If you're not, you're probably overstriding going up or pounding going down. When you get to the bottom of the hill, or as you're getting to the bottom of the hill, you may be able to recover. If it's a steep hill and you're holding back a little bit, your oxygen consumption will drop because you're not pressing your lungs. Your legs are your limiting factor. So you may have a little bit of a chance to recover. When you get to the bottom of a hill, carry that momentum forward into the flat or into the next hill. 50 feet is kind of a gold standard for Central Indiana anyway. If you look at this and you're doing a 3-mile version of this, if you can get 150 feet of climb, that's pretty solid. If we're doing 5, we want 250 feet. So it doesn't have to be that steep, and some of you, it might be logistically prohibitive to get to something like that, where we're gonna do it in Arden and or Penn. We're gonna have that kind of elevation. So kind of target that if that's available. Too much more than that, and it's pretty hard to keep the steady state into the steady state run with hills. Now it's just a hilly run, which is certainly a place for that as well. And doing a quality workout, higher end aerobic workout, and you're at threshold, give or take a little bit on this, it really will benefit you at the longer distances. So for those of you running Boston, as I've told many of you, running a long run on hills is great, but it's not the same as running goal pace or goal pace late into the race when your legs are more tired. So we can simulate a little bit later into the marathon or a hilly marathon, or flat for that matter, because it's all law of muscle fiber fatigue and recruitment, by doing it faster on hills. So you look around, you don't really have anything that's anywhere close to 50 feet a mile. You have a few ups and downs. If you're going fast enough, of course, you notice a little bit of an incline. We'll just run faster. So you compensate for it that way. If it is just, I can't get anywhere with anything that I would call a hill, do a steady state run. We just want to make sure that it's plenty fast and you're right at threshold, maybe going over just a little bit. Moderate quality workout this week. Speed rotation, and I use a few of these, and this speed rotation is 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes, 1 minute, and then 30 seconds. So it's 5 minutes of fast running, equal recovery time, so it's 5 minutes of recovery as well. So each set is 10 minutes. Most of you have 2, some of you have 3 rounds of this. If you're racing Sam Costa or another race this coming weekend, I probably move the moderate quality workout to your Tuesday, because we don't need to do this kind of work and then go try to race a half marathon. If you're doing the quarter, maybe we have some version of this, maybe it's a little bit shorter, or I've given you the 2 options. We can do whatever. Now, should this speed rotation be threshold to where you're running as fast as you possibly can, and at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, you'd be going anaerobic, or 1 minute and 35 seconds, you're going anaerobic, so fast, but we're not going anaerobic for the duration? Or is it, let's crank, let's go as fast as we can go. I don't care if the last 30 seconds of that 2 minutes is a sea of lactic acid, that's fine. I'm just trying to run as fast and as hard as I can. Depends on a couple things. One, what's your recovery level from this, and planning ahead to your long run, whether it's going to be a long run with goal pace, or if we've shifted your schedule and you're just doing an endurance long run, we don't want to overrun this and really suffer here. But because it's only 5 minutes of hard running per set, you probably can hit it pretty hard and be ready for a long run. if your legs are good and you're recovered and you come into this and you feel like I can go a little bit faster, especially if you're preparing for half marathon and shorter, and definitely if your goal race is either a long way, several more weeks off beyond that April 18th, 20th weekend, then you might want to hit it a little bit harder because you have time to recover and there's benefit to that. The long run, the normal rotation of this is goal pace. I know some of you did goal pace this past week. Some of you are racing Sam Costa, and that half marathon goal pace is going to do what we needed to do in place of a marathon goal pace run. But generally the half marathon goal pace is 80 to 85%. So the top end of your high end aerobic and marathon goal pace is 75 to 80%. So if we get a real windy day or real hot or real cold or whatever, you flip a coin. It seems like it's been pretty psychotic lately, and maybe the pace isn't coming or you're on a hillier course or whatever. You can think about those in place. When we think about goal pace, it's never as easy in training as we want it to be. We want it to feel like, oh, I could do this for the duration, no problem. It rarely ends up being that way, in part because you don't have the mental psyche. You're not as rested as you would be going into race day, and all the logistical things are not in your favor. So don't worry too much about that. We just want to give it a good effort. If it feels like racing and you're trying to do 10 miles at marathon goal pace and you can get 2 or 3 before it becomes a real struggle, we might want to reevaluate or certainly understand why it was so difficult. For most of you, I have 4 to 5 miles at half marathon pace and double that, 8 to 10 at marathon pace. Practice nutrition and hydration. Again, when you're running a nice, easy endurance long run, it's easier to take in gels, easier to take in fluids. Now that we're giving it some effort and now that you're breathing a little bit harder, can you still get the calories in? Can you still consume the water? So practice that. And money, it's the shoes, especially if you're changing shoes or you have a new pair of shoes. This is a great time to do it. I would like to warm up in training shoes, put on the racing shoes, and it feels so much lighter, so much faster. It really gets you in the mood to do something at goal pace, and then do the goal pace. Make sure those shoes check out and they're fantastic and you have no concerns about them on race day. If you do, we still have a little bit of time to figure that out. Speaking of a little bit of time, the remaining weeks. If we back up, the week of 4/13 is the weekend of the 18th and 20th. So for many of you, that's Carmel Marathon or half marathon or Boston Marathon. We back up a week to the week of 4/6, and that's our taper week. We're not doing much of consequence there. Maybe we'll throw in a few goal pace miles if you feel like you need it, but nothing too strenuous that week. And then we're backing out to the week we're talking about now of 3/16, 3/23, and 3/30. Those are our last training weeks. So let's make sure that we have everything scheduled between races, endurance long runs, and long runs with quality, that we have that dialed in. Every week that goes by, we have less flexibility, and we want you standing at the start line thinking, I'm ready to go. I got it all. I got my long runs. I got my quality. I'm feeling good. I got my nutrition down. My shoes are going to do the job for me. I'm ready to go. So as we get closer, let's make sure that that's going to be the case.